So sometimes I imagine my retreat like a river, and sometimes it's when the river opens up and is wide and everything is calm and quiet, and other times it's going over rocks in between big rocks and it's like all churling and everything. And have you noticed how it changes over time? We could have one moment where everything is lovely, and then the very next moment it's totally different. And so I want to acknowledge that, and that sometimes our instructions might be on the mark for where you are on that river, and totally off the mark. And like you're in a totally different place from the person who's giving the instructions. So I want to acknowledge that. And if what I say is off the mark, then please feel really deeply supported to do whatever practice you are needing in the moment. So it could be, if we find ourselves in the churning waters, that what we need is metta. And so then offering kindness and friendship to those churning waters of the mind and heart. Or it could be we finding ourselves in that space where it's a little quieter. And then that's the time to gather our energies. And that's one of the definitions of concentration. It's like, not that I've ever done this, but it just keeps coming to mind, like you're in the forest gathering mushrooms and putting them in your basket. Like, oh, there, oh, there. So, I can feel that thought there. Oh, come back here. Oh, yeah, that distraction. Oh, come back. Like gathering our energies that have might have wandered off, gathering the energies so that our energies are contained and there, present for the experience at the moment. And in that gathered place, then there's the capacity to really sustain a relationship with our experience. So, it's sometimes like someone is talking to you and you're like, what did you say? It's like afterwards you realize, because you missed something out and it's not making sense, that you had split the scene already, and you're like, okay, I'm really going to concentrate, but then you're off again, And so sometimes it's like that, and it's just got to acknowledge, not good or bad, but, oh, my mushrooms are a little further afield. And can I make that effort of walking to gather the mushroom that's a little further afield and bring it and put it in my basket? And oh, there, yeah, right. Okay, and so just acknowledging, not good or bad, but this is the nature of our minds. And they move in and out of all these different expressions. And so the invitation is, whether we're doing metta or whether we're doing mindfulness, we're gathering our energies. That's so much a part of the integration and unification of our mind and body and the settling in, so that we can companion our experience in an ongoing way, or bear witness to it, or as Analayo, the scholar, says, stand by ourselves. It reminds me of that story of Jesus Christ. Oh, I really don't want to talk a lot this morning, but I'll just finish the story of someone walking on the desert, and they notice there are these footsteps by them, and then when it gets really arid and barren, there's just one set of footsteps, and the this disciple of Jesus turns to Jesus and say, I notice your footsteps beside me as I'm walking, but then when it gets really difficult, you abandon me. And Jesus said, no, I was carrying you. I love that. I love that story of this acknowledgement of sometimes we think we've split the scene, but we wouldn't still be on this retreat if our beautiful energies hadn't been carrying us. So calling in those beautiful energies to support the gathering, and then the sustaining of the relationship with the experience. So gathering and sustaining, or we could say focusing, like that initial, the Buddha divides it into two kinds of sustaining. And I like to say meeting. And the traditional translation is initial application. So depending on what kind of mind you have, you might like one or the other of those descriptions. Like that recognizing, oh, hi, meeting, that here's my breath, here's my body, here's my thought or feeling or perception or sensation of pleasant, unpleasant. Hi. That initial recognition, and then that capacity to sustain the connection. Right? And we're building that, right? And so that sustaining the connection, and as the connection is sustained, the churning river begins to flow into that wider, calmer space that allows us to discern more clearly our experience. And particularly if you find yourself in this place of noticing the arising and passing of our experience. So this is what I want to say around that often in our practice, we get a little confused about the difference between how we relate to the experience and the experience. And so when I talked about metta, I don't know if you remember, but I used that simile of a birthday with a gift. It doesn't matter so much if you feel love after offering metta. You are offering the gift, the intention of caring. And that's what counts. That's what actually builds and sustains the mind, is that initial offering. With mindfulness, it isn't so much whether the breath is long or short or smooth or bumpy. In Vipassana, it's in the perception of, or holding the perception of impermanence in how you relate to your experience. And it doesn't even have to be just in your practice. This could be, if you can't do any formal practice, just noticing in a general way, this feeling's gone, this thought, well, it's gone. Here it is, but in a slightly different form again. My body, when I first sat down, was comfortable, and now it's like really aching. Now it's different already. Like, if there's that holding that perception of, it's not just I'm noticing the experience, but I'm noticing it in the framework or perception of impermanence. I'm not just expecting love, I'm offering the gift. I'm holding the appreciation and the caring and the offering of that gift. I'm not so focused on whether love comes or not. So that's that framework. And now I'm just going to say something that also might be appropriate for you according to what your practice is. It might be that you really want to focus more on the gathering of the settledness. And in that case, You're not focusing on the impermanence. You're more focusing on the rhythm of the breath and staying with the breath in that sustained way to help settle the mind if it feels agitated. So noticing the characteristics of the breath and impermanence, because that supports the freedom and unselfing of ourselves, that it challenges the ownership of ourselves. And when we feel a little more settled, that is a really beautiful and liberating practice. Or it might be that you feel you want to collect your mushrooms more. And if you're collecting them and bringing your energies in and you want to build on that, then you're noticing the rhythm more of the breath and sustaining your attention on that. Or it might be that you are in the spirit of generosity and caring and gifting yourself the gift of well-wishing, because that's what's nourishing and resilient and healing. And we all find ourselves in different times at different places in the river. So it just is with the learning we are being offered of how is my mind right now and what is the calling. Yeah? Okay. So finding a comfortable position. Or as comfortable as possible given the imperfection of the body. And let's all begin with a gifting of, may I meet myself with kindness. Gathering our energies into that phrase, may I offer my gathered energy, bringing myself all the way here, if that feels comfortable to you. Connecting, may I meet or stand by this being, myself, with kindness. It might be that you want to stay here, or it might be you feel called to acknowledge the posture, relaxing into the posture. And for those who like silence, 15 minutes of this meditation will be in silence, so I'm just going to offer a little guidance. Taking a moment to acknowledge the posture and what is communicating itself to you. Touch or stretching, pulling. Not me or mine. Life living in this moment as body. And our mind acknowledges this awareness. knowing, sensations of body sitting. And then if it's comfortable for you, either with breath or sound, whatever's most accessible, recognizing, making contact with either experience. Relaxing and relaxing. Letting it come, it's there. See if you can recognize and connect with the very beginning of the sound or the in-breath. How it is at the end. And where the out-breath begins and its journey. How is that journey? How does it end? Sustaining, and then acknowledging, recognizing the beginning of the in-breath again. Giving it space for its life. It isn't mine actually, it's breath visiting. Not me or mine, but the visit of the in-breath or the visit of the sound and its life. Ending and beginning as the out-breath. Those visitors will keep coming, so we don't have to stress, but we're alert, gathering and sustaining. And then you can choose at any point to notice the characteristics and qualities of each in-breath or the rhythm, depending on what works for you. Sustaining, holding through. When other experiences arise like pain, an emotion, then acknowledging that and coming back to the breath. Or sound, or matter. not me or mine, a visitor. Gathering, sustaining. breaths and nature, not me or mine. Returning for these last couple of minutes. Thank you.